I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. So when y'all started talking about the massacres and what went down in East St. Louis, I was flabbergasted because I had no idea. None, none. My mother and father were born and raised in St. Louis, and I grew up there. I had no idea that any of that had gone down. I was like, what is happening right now? Okay. But it was so horrific and barbaric, and I'm so grateful that you were the vessel that shared all of this information with us, because I think it's important. You can't move forward if you don't know where you come from. Otherwise, you keep the cycle is cyclical. It keeps happening over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I'm really grateful that you were able to bring that to the forefront. I also wanted to find out, where are we with the excavation of the bodies in Tulsa? Because we end the documentary with that information saying they've excavated that ground, but we never really find out, if they found bodies, if they did find bodies, what happened to it. If you could just expound on that for a second, that would be great.
Sure. So yes, East St. Louis massacre happened in 1917. Horrific, as you said, horrific, barbaric. White mobs pulled Black people off of streetcars. They were beating them with clubs. It was, talk about, yes, barbarism, out and out evil barbarism. So yes, people need to know about what happened in 1917 in East St. Louis, Illinois. Update on Tulsa. As we speak, scientists are in the mass grave. They've reopened the mass grave in Oaklawn Cemetery, which, as you know, is a city-owned cemetery in Tulsa, not far from Greenwood, Black Wall Street. They're in the shaft. They have found as many as 28 coffins. And they are also exhuming remains of the people who were buried in this unmarked grave. So it was unmarked. We didn't know that it existed, right, before they excavated it. The Black descendants of the Tulsa Race Massacre are on site in this mass grave. And as the archaeologists are ready to exhume the remains, they're carefully putting the remains in boxes that look like coffins. They're draping them with a black cloth, and they're carrying them 3 on each side of the box, very much like pallbearers. These Black descendants of the massacre victims are carrying them very somberly across the graveyard to the scientific lab, where forensic anthropologist Phoebe Stubblefield, also a Black woman who's a descendant of a massacre, is in charge of looking for trauma. She's going to be looking for bullet fragments, any charring, any burning that will connect the remains to the massacre.
What do you think is the importance of being a griot these days? Because with our generation, we know what we know about our families and about the history of our country, because it was passed down orally from person to person, generation to generation. But we don't have that so much anymore. What do you think the importance is of that? How can we keep that going for this generation coming up behind us?
That's a great question, because I am such a believer in oral tradition of storytelling. Our people, that's the way we carried the stories from one generation to the next, and they repeated the story over and over and over again, lest you forget, right? Because you can't forget. Once you forget, as you said, it can repeat the cycle. So oral tradition of storytelling is very important. It's important in this documentary, Rise Again, Red Summer. As you can, when you're watching it, you can see these descendants of these massacre victims reciting what their grandmother said or their great grandmother said about what happened, about this racial terror violence that consumed the country. I argue from 1917 all the way through Rosewood, 1923. So yeah, in terms of being a griot, that's a very honored title. I think one of the things that I'm doing as a reporter is just telling the story, right? Telling the story of my ancestors. My people are from Oklahoma. My great-grandmother lived in Tulsa. My grandmother was born in Boley, which is an all-Black town, 60 miles from Tulsa. And my father lives in Tulsa now. So I'm just telling the story of my people. And I'm also, as a reporter, I'm in hot pursuit of the truth. I mean, that's what drives reporters, is to pursue the truth and to hold government agencies accountable. So in this case, this documentary documents Red Summer, that reign of terror, I think from 1917 to 1923, when as many as 25 cities were consumed by massacres. White mobs killed Black people in these cities, right? And in many cases, there was no investigation. Many cases, no white person was ever arrested. Many cases, the cities have not found the mass graves that were there. There have been no state investigations except for in Tulsa. So I am driven to tell this story even now. You know, I'm up until 2 a.m. writing. I'm still writing the story and still reporting the story.
Yes, you are a griot. You are a griot through your reporting. So I'm gonna give you that title. You better accept it because I'm giving it to you. You got to take it.
Thank you.
Dawn, can we talk about the Dawn Porter Project? Because I'm there for everything that she always does. And I'm just interested to know how you guys hooked up.
Wow, Dawn Porter is brilliant. And it was such an honor to work with the great Dawn Porter on this project. I was very kind of starry-eyed throughout the filming. I'm like, oh, Dawn is talking to me. So it was great. I mean, it was great to work with Dawn. And National Geographic TV began discussing a project on Tulsa. They kind of brought me in as a consultant, and I was like, sure, you know, I'll help you report. You know, I know everybody in Tulsa. I'll connect you, I'll guide you. That's what I do. Cool. And so when Dawn Porter came on as director, Dawn Porter proposed that I be in front of the camera, that the camera follow me. That's how it happened. And I was like, okay. So this is how it all got started. I mean, Black people built this democracy, right? We know what, and we've always believed in this democracy. So yes, what she's saying is we are striving to make this country live up to its promises of a democracy, where it promised, you know, that all men should be treated as equals. It promised that all of us should have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? So we, in the Black community, we are descendants of enslaved Black people. We have always been fighting for this country, that it live up to its promises.
With you, I'm looking forward to you getting your flowers with a Pulitzer Prize or something one day over there at the Washington Post. And Deneen, thank you so much for taking time out for me. I really appreciated it. I can't wait to talk to you.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me on your show, The Curvy Critic. I love the title. It was such an honor to talk to you. Thank you to your viewers and to your listeners. I'm thrilled, and it was great to spend time with you. So thank you.